Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back with another rendition of Unstoppable Me, Unfiltered. I am Gino Collura, and this is...
I'm Danny Alvarez.
And we are thrilled to be diving into yet another conversation, heartfelt, meaningful, and hopefully not riddled with a bunch of nonsense from this guy over here.
That's thrilled? That almost looks like you took a Xanax.
It looks like I took a Xanax.
Well, we're here. We're thrilled to be here. And it's like, I'm unfiltered.
Is everyone catching in on this? Do you listen to this guy, Representative Alvarez? The junk coming out of his mouth right now?
Are you ready? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Gino Collura. We're ready to go. I'm a doctor.
Look, it's incredibly important that all of you understand that the conversation he and I were having offline had everything to do with how his body was mimicking the movement of a hippopotamus when he was working with a SWAT team. I think this is a very important element for us to discuss. But with that being said, we do have some very important conversations to
Something
have
that's
today,
super important
right?
to both of us.
Like getting past you belonging in a zoo. This is very important, right? So in a very real sense, Danny, fatherhood.
Yeah.
This hits for you and I.
Big time.
This is it, right? I mean, this is it, right? So the lessons learned, the losses, right, along the way as far as lost opportunities, what we've learned from those, and ultimately what it is that we want to impart on our children. So look, I mean, complete transparency here. I've got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. I'm still kind of getting started in the dad game. You have got years of experience on me on this, right? So I'm willing to listen.
No, God, no.
I'm willing to listen this one time.
First of all, this is not called I Lie by Gino Collura. Nobody believes that. Just because you have a 4-year-old, in 1 year of that 4-year-old's life, you learned more about who you are. Right?
Oh, yes.
Just because your kid's not 20 doesn't mean like you could probably teach most people like how to be a dad by how good of a dad. And I'm going to tell you something. Let's just get it out there.
Get it out there. I don't know where you're going with it.
I am not a judgy person. You can live your life. You can do what you want to do mostly. You know what I mean? If you hurt a kid, you're out.
For sure. Yeah.
If you're a bad dad or if you're a bad mom, I'm super judgy. And the reason I think that is because what a child gets from mom and dad, right, is what that child will become. And then when you multiply that by everyone in your society, it's what your society becomes. And I would argue, and this is not like necessarily what we're supposed to talk about, but I would argue that the reason we have so many problems is because moms won't be mom and dads won't be dads, right? But oftentimes we talk about, like, we're here to talk about like being a dad, like the importance of fatherhood. But I don't want to minimize, I really want to say this part, like raising a child, leading a child requires a mom and a dad, right? For the maximum benefit. Real life steps in, right? And sometimes a mom and a dad aren't available. So you do the best you can. So if you're hearing my voice, I don't want you to think like we're saying, oh, just because you're a mom without the dad. No. You do the best you can with what you've got. But a kid's maximum potential, if we can absolutely get a mom and a dad, then the benefits, the studies show that no matter 100%. What, the outcomes are. So when a man becomes a father and does not act like a dad and a father,
that's a huge.
Then for me, you're done.
Contention for me. Yeah, I can't.
So I just want to say that right now because I'll become a complete jerk.
No, and I'm going to back you on this one 1,000%. There are very few things in the walk of life that I am hypercritical about.
Yes.
Right, of other people.
Yep.
But when it comes to that, when it comes to being the person who needs to step up and be responsible, right, for what it is that child does, right? What is that child's exposed to, right? As far as your role as a protector, your role as a provider, your role as a leader, there is nothing more sacred. Nothing more sacred for any man who is a father walking this earth than that right there. And if you don't prioritize that, and to you it's just another thing you have to do,
you better check yourself.
No, I mean, you want to talk about, no, but that's real, right? Like, man, at our age, like, I'm not interested in getting angry and upset about things, but that right there,
me off.
That will set me into another zone. I have zero tolerance for it.
And listen, let's calibrate this. You don't have to be father of the year.
No.
You don't have to be rich.
No.
You don't have to provide every opportunity and have every resource. You legit just have to be there.
Exactly. Show up.
Just show up.
Right? That's 90% of the job. Just show up. Right? And listen, and when you show up with a posture of your heart to want to be there to love and support that child. Not to live vicariously through that child and put all these expectations because maybe there's a lot of failures you had in your life.
That's right.
And now you're looking at them and say, oh, I didn't do it, but you're gonna.
That's right.
No. They are their own person.
Yeah.
You have to nurture that. You have to be able to cultivate that in them. But at the same time, let them grow.
Yeah.
Give them the love that they need. Give them the protection that they need and the guidance that is needed. But here's a huge problem, Danny. So many dads nowadays, and I'm going to say it, because of what we are seeing with masculinity, the drop in masculinity in society in general, when we say a child for optimal behavior and outcomes requires a mother and a father, what we're saying is neither one is more important than the other. They're both equally as important.
100%.
But taking ownership of that role biologically, psychologically, and spiritually, what that means is a big deal.
It does.
And
It
if
is.
you don't take full responsibility and accountability for that, and you fall into social trends of getting in the gray area of what that role means, we got a problem.
That's right.
And you take a look around, we do have a problem.
We do have a problem. How many times have people been like, you're too much of a dude?
Danny, you and I live by that every day.
Yeah.
We hear it all the time,
Yeah.
right? But what does that mean? I'm too much of a dude.
I don't care what it means.
That's exactly
It's not
right.
like I'm gonna change.
There's a very real way when it comes to this, when it comes to my family, when it comes to my children, my wife, and my community, how it is that I position myself and my role, my God-given role, right, as a protector and a provider. I'm gonna tell you right now, there is no negotiation when it comes to that. If there is not absolute in what you believe in and what you stand for, that's where you have to start. And I think this is a huge part of this. So many of the men who are walking around nowadays, they don't know what they believe in or what they stand for.
Or what they stand for. That's
Exactly.
a good point.
What are you willing, right, to dig your heels in the mud and the sand and say, I'm planting my flag,
That's it.
period.
That's it.
Don't cross that line.
And it is who I am.
Yes.
And that's true. And clearly we could probably do an entire other show.
Oh, that's a whole
on
nother-
that, right?
Absolutely.
So establishing who you are and that's what you're going to end up pouring into that
That's right.
person in the next one is vital to be like going into the fatherhood. What's fatherhood mean to you personally?
Personally, so when I think about love, right, what does that mean? And this is a very big term, right? The idea of fatherhood for me in my life, in my mind and in my heart and in my soul, it means doing everything that I can in my power to allow my children to fulfill the mission that they have been given in this life. I don't know what it is. It's not me. It's not for me to decide that, right? But what I do know is I need to be the number one cheerleader, right, and provider and supporter to help them get to where they need to be in order to fulfill that mission in their life. And it doesn't stop. Look, everyone's like, oh, once they turn 18, that's it. Negative.
Not a chance.
Negative. Until I take my last breath, it's devotion and dedication to that right there.
That's
I don't
right.
care if I'm in a wheelchair and I can't move. I'm still going to do everything that I can to help push them forward. And by the way, a lot of people will say this. It's so they can do better than I did. Wrong. It's got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with the generation before me. It's got everything to do with showing appreciation and love for former sacrifices that I've made and previous family members have made to get our family where it is. But more importantly, it's got everything to do with, are you fulfilling your total potential? That's all I'm interested in. And as your father, I'm going to give you everything that I possibly can to help get you there.
It's incredible because like what you said is completely what I believe. And I think I take it for granted that like most people would believe that.
Oh, no.
But they don't.
Oh, Denny, no.
Sometimes like I see dads see their kids as almost like competition. And you're like,
Yes.
What
Oh,
are you,
yeah.
guy? What are you doing?
No,
like what are you
100%.
doing? Like your 10-year-old isn't competing against you when you were 10.
That's exactly right.
Like your 10-year-old has become the 10-year-old that he is now.
You know, you raise an incredible point. Like I have two daughters, right? My 4-year-old has been doing jujitsu for a little while now. Love it. She's enamored with
No,
it.
she
Right?
tried to choke me out.
What's that?
She tried to choke me out.
I mean, she did choke you out. It's
No,
not,
nobody-
it's not that hard.
We can
let's
say
just be honest,
tried.
right? Let's
We're on
let's be
camera.
honest. But she also does gymnastics. My wife did gymnastics growing up, right? Jiu-jitsu and judo were big things for me as a kid growing up as well, right? But fast forward, she loves it. She enjoys it. So we support it. She comes to me one day and she's like, Daddy, I don't want to do this anymore. There's two ways in which I look at this. There's the part of me, for my own selfish reasons, I want her to do those things
Right.
because look, I love it. So I want her to love it too. But then the other part of me that says, look, if you've made a commitment, right? You're going to learn the art of committing to something as a human being.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I'm not going to let you just walk away. Now, after you get done with the tournament you're training for, or whatever it is, right? And you're like, look, I want to close this chapter and try something else. No problem. But if you think you're going to stop midway,
That ain't happening.
that ain't happening, right?
That ain't
You're going to
happening.
fulfill your commitment. I say all that to say, I look at so many parents who like their kids are in Little League or they play whatever kind of sport or competition it is. And the parents that get up and yell and scream and come and get into fights and like this whole thing, right? And I'm looking at myself, you're yelling at a 7-year-old.
That's right.
These are children learning life lessons that they're learning through sport. And what you're teaching them right now is to throw a tantrum when things don't go your way.
That's exactly right.
How are you teaching them about adversity and challenge and communication and emotional regulation? It's a disaster, but all that tells me is it paints a picture of where we are at as a society.
100%.
How silly is it though, right? And as a father, I look at that and I'm like, I don't know where the wires got crossed. I've got a theoretical idea, right, socially. But as an individual, if you don't have the wherewithal to take pride in being someone who loves their child, to show and shows up for their child, to teach them what is right, and not use them as an excuse to pop off because of your own deprivations, you need to go back to the drawing board.
100%. I remember old T-Bird. I played lacrosse in high school and college.
Yeah.
And I told T there was a couple of rules. Number one is you're going to play something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just simply because that's part of the training that I'm going to give you to make sure you learn how to be on a team, learn how to sacrifice for others, for the greater good, all that stuff. And then the second one was whatever you start, you ain't quitting. So if it sucks, get used to it, Papa, because you're going to do it.
That's right.
So the ironies of life is that I leave this kid alone and he chooses lacrosse. And I remember going, wait a minute. I got in my head. I was like, did I force him to do this? And I'm like going back. I don't even remember that his school offered lacrosse.
Yeah.
And so this kid embraces lacrosse, takes on lacrosse on his own, and then becomes like one of the leaders of his team. They almost shut the team down during COVID. I remember.
Yeah.
And he's like went and rallied and he loved it on his own. You know?
It. Yeah.
It was interesting.
So can I just do a shout out to T-Bird real quick?
Yeah.
Because I do want to say, this is a quick shout out. Like, he also took a fight.
That's right.
Can we just for 1 second?
That's true.
Just to recognize that, right?
Is that
got
flabbergasting?
into a whole new discipline, got into boxing.
On his own.
Right? Did his own thing up in college and then signed up to compete. And dude won. Dude won.
Do you know how much I hate to get hit in the face?
Oh, I know, because it happens a lot.
So, like, anytime I've ever gotten in a fight in my life, it's like I hate fighting.
Yeah.
We'll do it, but I hate fighting.
Yeah.
This kid signs up for boxing. And I'm like, when he said I'm going to do it, I was like, I'm sorry. Did you say boxing? And he's like, yeah, I'm so stoked.
So awesome.
And he lit that dude.
He lit him up, man. I saw the footage and I was like so proud. Like literally so proud. I'm like, this is amazing.
I couldn't believe,
man.
honestly, I couldn't believe it.
So amazing. So amazing.
But that's a good point right there, right? So I now have 7 kids, right? Like Heather and I.
We just need to do an episode on that, by the way.
We should do
and
an
we need to
episode
invite your wife to join
on
us.
7 is enough.
Because wow.
Yeah. So so I had T-Bird by myself for 7 years. Okay. And you, as a dad, you say, all right, I have to impart everything I can. I got to put everything I can on how to survive and how to thrive and how to live. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you how to do it, right? Like how to live with honor, how to live with code, how to be a man of your word, how to stand up to adversity, how to stand up to bullies, all these things, right, that we're going to do. And then when you throw that kid to the real world, right? When you throw that kid to the real world, it is flabbergasting to watch them on their own. And the pride of my life, is to watch him do things that I didn't know he liked to do or want, but then thrive at them.
Absolutely.
He comes to me, here's my plan, Dad. This is what I'm going to do. I'm like, okay. And then he executes in midway. He's like, oh, the plan's going bad. He shifts and then he's successful or he's not. And then how he deals with that adversity.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I made that thing right there. I made that, right?
Yes.
And to watch it explode and go,
it's amazing, man.
It is amazing. Now, let me tell you the other one. So I thought I was a tough dad.
Yeah.
Right? My job, okay, and we'll get into this, is to lead my children. I'm not there to be their friend, right? I'm there to lead them through life We will become friends at some point, and our relationship will be based on a mutual respect that we have for each other. I'm still always going to be your dad, but we may be more friends than we were when we first got started. So in the world that we live in, my way of raising a kid seems to be in the minority, right? Leadership, right, equals love to me, right?
Yes.
I keep seeing these men that say, "Oh, my son's my best friend." I'm like, you're literally destroying your child's chances of competing in the real world every time you say that, right? Every time you do that. There's no manual.
That's right.
Right? Like there isn't like a do-over. Like you have one kid, you have 18 years. There's no manual on how to be a dad. So you're hoping you do it. He goes off on his own, and one day he calls me because, hey, I need to talk to you. And I was like, hey, you okay? He goes, I get it now. And I was like, what's that? He goes, I get the way.
Oh man.
I get why you were the way you were.
Yeah.
And I was like, how was I? And he goes, you were really tough. My friends were all scared of you. They thought like you were either a cop or in the military, and that they thought you were really, really hard on me. And now I get why. Because this is really hard. And I was like, damn. Like I was like, I'm not crying.
Dude, that's all the feels right there.
No,
it's all the feels.
It was hard to hear it because you can never expect to hear that because parenting is like the most thankless.
Oh, yeah.
No one's coming to give you a pat on the back.
Dude, it's exhausting.
In fact, they're going to do the opposite.
Exhausting.
They're going to crap all over you.
Yes. Time and time again. Time and time. So this is amazing. Having a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, here's the thing that I have learned. I have had this conversation with my father several times since I've had children. And it's like every single time I change a diaper, every single time I get up, because I get up every night 2 or 3 times a night just to look over at the monitor, right? And make sure my girls are good, right? But every single time I do that, I think to myself, my dad did this for me, right? And so what I'm going through right now as a dad, he did the exact same thing. But as an adult, almost 40 years old, it paints a whole nother picture.
Oh, yeah.
A whole nother picture of that dedication, of that sacrifice, of that commitment to show up. And not just show up, but also serve, right? To serve your family in that capacity.
Absolutely.
And to understand what it takes. Because that's the thing. So many folks nowadays, they don't understand when you commit, and you commit to that, it's the most important job that exists on this planet. When you don't show up and you don't commit, the cracks and the levels of deprivation that you are exposing that child to,
1,000%.
they last generations. Right? And people, because it's always about just me, and I'm not thinking about the very real ripple effect of what I'm doing right now, the mental models that I'm helping support or not in my child are going to have a very real effect on her children, her children's children, and all the way down the line.
That's exactly right.
And if you don't understand the power of legacy, if you don't understand the power of your name lasting much longer than your physical existence, that's a huge problem. Here's the thing, Danny. I guarantee you 95% of the dads out there don't.
Do you know, I don't even, like when you and I were growing up, our dads weren't like, this is what I'm doing.
Oh, no.
This is why I'm doing it.
No.
Let me explain something. In 2025, I don't leave anything to chance anymore.
Yeah.
I once dated this girl, and she's like, I said, well,
I mean, I thought
I finally convinced somebody.
I thought your wife adopted you, so that's why I'm surprised. That's all.
Poor
I'm just
lady.
surprised.
But when I was dating, and I finally found someone that said, yes, I'll go out with you, Danny. I remember this moment. It was a seminal moment. She said something about like school, and she lets her kids make their own decisions because they were teaching something that was against like the moral fiber that we both shared, or I thought we shared.
Right.
And I was like, are we going to do something about that? And I remember her saying very specifically, no, I let my kids kind of like grow up and make their own. I said, absolutely not.
No. Yeah.
Absolutely not. No. And then that was a reminder. I am the indoctrinator in chief. You understand that?
Nice.
Like you, the school don't, you, the government don't, you, the society don't. I'm the one. So I teach them about God. I teach them about manners. I teach them about code.
That's right.
I teach them about service.
That's right.
And I teach them that our family is the core unit, and that's all that matters.
That's right.
I'll go make money. I'll go lose money. I'll go get fame. I will lose fame.
That's right. Yeah.
But I will only have one family and this one chance. And we are all that matters. And you know this because like this is the reality. And everyone has all these like live the dash.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm saying is the only thing that we have is this thing that we've created, right? The only legacy that I have is in your veins.
That's
and
right.
when my grandchildren come, if you don't think I will be an animal next to you helping
100%.
raise those kids,
That's exactly
you're
right.
crazy.
That's
So you know what I do
exactly right.
now? Like before my like daughter like gets all modern and she's like, Dad, this is how we raise them now. I'm gonna be like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Give me the kid.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because we are a strong family, but we are the indoctrinators in chief.
So this is awesome, right? Because I laugh so much, right? Especially in the times in which we live in, where there's very much a sense of, no, your parenting style, it's outdated. Right? This is how things are done nowadays, right? With appropriate boundaries and how things need to happen and clear communication. And, and I laugh because, look, anthropology, right? Anthropologically and sociologically, right? Listen, as a species, we have survived a very, very long time.
Right.
So to think that you're going to do it better, way much better, right, than your parents ever did or your grandparents did. Now, look, let me be very, very clear about this. I'm not talking about folks who have gone through abuse, folks who have gone through addiction.
Right.
That's not this at all. I'm talking about nuance, how you communicate, how you talk, how you enforce rules, right? How you discipline. That right there, I laugh when I see peers have really like huge concerns about, oh no, like I'm not going to leave them with my parents because, my parents were pretty hard. Like they spanked me and, they disciplined me. And I'm like, and how'd that work out for you? Because last time I checked, you seem to be doing pretty well, right? But just the fact that there is this push, this wall of, I know better. And I'm thinking to myself, let me tell you right now, let my daughters tell me, let me just tell you how that's going to roll out, right? But it's a very important thing though, because look, at the end of the day, as fathers, as parents, having that charge and also having the conviction in your heart to know that, look, obviously goes without being said, would die for them and kill for them like that, 100%. Right? It's not even a question. But at the same token, nurturing them. What nurturing looks like is going to be a complete reflection of how much nurturing you have done to yourself and for yourself. How are you growing as a human being? How are you growing as a man? How are you growing in your understanding of being a father? Because look, the fundamentals of protecting and providing, cool. But there's deeper levels of understanding to get them to their full potential that you have to explore. Now, look, to your point, look, my dad wasn't the type that sat there and said, well, look, this is why. It's like, no, listen, mijo, this is what you're going to do, and you're going to go do it.
Right.
Like there was no explanation whatsoever,
None.
right? But at the same time, I think about it now. If I tell my oldest, Serafina, honey, don't touch the stove, it's hot. At 4, she'll understand hot. At 2, she doesn't understand what that is. She has to touch it. After one time, she knew, oh, not touching that. I can't explain that. I look back when I was a child and had he tried to explain it to me, I wouldn't have understood.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go do it and have to follow my button, get right back up and understand and learn. But having the discernment as a parent, having the discernment as a father to know, look, sometimes this is going to happen. And it doesn't mean that you're a failure as a father. It means you have to be okay with letting them learn on their own.
That's fact.
And that is a hard part. This whole best friend thing with my kid and I'm going to like shield them from everything. Ooh, right? Like
It's dangerous.
It is very, because look, the world's a nasty place. And you've got to make sure that their upbringing, it's training. It's training for the fight.
It's training.
Right? And guess what?
That's well said.
You do a lot of bleeding in training.
That's right.
You do a lot of sweating in training, a lot of breathing hard in training. And if you're not preparing them, right, to step into that ring of life when you're no longer around, you've not done your job.
You said something that I really want to hit on, something like we talk about manly men and all that stuff. Like, I don't remember my dad or my grandfather saying, I love you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's going to look at me and be like, oh, you're a wimp, Danny.
Right.
Like, maybe. Maybe you would.
I mean, listen, it's those of us who know the truth.
But the reality of the matter is, for me, I look at every tough guy I know, you know what I mean? And I tell them I love them.
Always.
You know what I mean?
So you're really good about that.
So
you're really good about that.
The truth with your children is they should know without a doubt
Absolutely.
that you love and adore them
That's
at
right.
every moment.
That's right.
And as long as you're fair,
Yes.
okay? And by the way,
Yes.
this rule sounds a lot like our employees that when we teach people about leadership, but as long as you're fair
That's right.
with your discipline, right? And there's a justification that you can relate, whether in the moment or later on, right? So when one of my kids get in trouble, I light them up like the 4th of July. We set
right.
a standard, you failed to meet the standard. And I'm talking to you much more like directly than I
course.
might, depending on the age of the person. Like our 16-year-old gets very direct talk because we're about to go to the big game.
Oh, absolutely.
When they're 18.
That's right.
Versus our 6-year-old that I've got to be like, honey,
absolutely.
it's the third time I've told you.
That's
this is
right.
why you're about to get a timeout,
That's right.
So, but it's always backed with love. I love you to death. There's not. In fact, I'm here because I love you.
You love you. That's
I'm
exactly
putting
right.
this work in
That's
because
right.
I love you.
That's right.
And that's why you're in timeout.
That's right.
And I've even heard him be like, "You love me so much, you put me in timeout, huh?"
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
They
there's
pop
another,
off like that?
There's
Oh,
another
yeah.
20
Oh,
minutes.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%, man.
But that's fine
Yes.
because they're thinking. They know dads that will show love right through action. I'm telling you, you do you. You do it how you do. But you got to make sure that somehow you have communicated love
right.
to that child.
Oh, massive, massive point here, right? Again, and this goes back to the intention and the posture of your heart in that relationship. If your child knows that at the end of the day, even though they could be so frustrated with you and so upset with you, but at their core, they know that dad loves me. Dad is ultimately looking out for what is best for me. They're gonna kick and scream and be upset, and that's fine. But once you have established the fundamental understanding of, you may not get it now, but just know there's a very real reason why I'm doing it, and one day you'll get it, right?
That's right.
Everything else, you can throw your tantrum. You're still going to timeout. You're still grounded. No, you're not going to the party. Yeah, I'm taking your car away. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, the understanding of dad's never going to put me in a position where I'm in danger.
That's right.
He's doing things to make sure I'm safe.
But here's the important message too. So you're telling that to the kid. What about the dad? Dads, you got to understand, it is uncomfortable. It is lonely.
Yes.
You will doubt yourself.
Oh,
you will
yeah.
see the thing you love, cry, get mad,
that's the
hate you,
worst,
all that
man.
kind of stuff. Hold the line.
It is the
right?
worst.
As long as your motivation isn't evil /
That's
personal
right. That's
/
right.
vindictive, any of those things.
That's right.
Hold the line.
Yes.
Pour in and tell them you love them.
And so that right there, right? The idea of holding the line. That, look, this goes back to the whole idea that you and I have discussed before, right? Making harder choices. It's a hard choice. You have to have discipline to hold the line. And that discipline is going to be completely anchored to your belief system and your value system of what you want for your child. And what every single father wants for their child, every good father wants for their child, is what's best for them to reach that full potential. If you're not doing the harder things to make discipline a reality in their life, to your point, is life going to do that for them? No.
Let me give you something like an example that stinks.
Yeah.
Parents that are 50-50. We know that like almost half of marriages end in divorce.
Yeah.
Kids are getting locked up in the middle. So you only get your kid 50% of the time, right? And you got to be a disciplinarian.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And you
That's
want to
tough, man.
talk about it sucking for you being the dad,
gosh, that's
right? So
heavy,
you're like,
man.
oh man, I don't get to see my kid half the time, and now I gotta be on this kid. Can't we just have fun?
Yeah.
And that's
trouble.
I'm telling you,
Yes.
I've done it. I've been there. I've had weak moments.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that struggle is real. Hold the line.
Yeah, hold the line.
Hold the line.
I
All
think-
right, give me a recap.
No, but I think that right there is that is the recap, right? I mean, truly, at the end of the day, when your heart is set in the right place and you show up and you commit, right? That no matter what, right? That this person, this sentient being is yours. They are your responsibility. And it's your job, as much love as you pour, as much care as you pour, you have to equally pour that disciplinarian role. And you have to be steady. Because look, at the end of the day, being steady and being consistent, that is where real results are achieved.
100%.
And that's exactly what they need from you.
I think Gino hit it on the head, 1,000%. If you're a dad, whether planned or unplanned,
Yes.
the
You're right, man.
gift, it's no burden.
No,
the gift of
no.
fatherhood
That's right.
is yours. 18 years.
That's right.
Hold the line, disciplined and fair, but above all, strong men.
Yes.
Strong men.
That's right.
Say, I love you.
That always.
I love you, bro.
Love you too, brother.
All right, that's Danny and Gino. This is Unstoppable, Unfiltered, Unstoppable Me. We'll see you next time.